Okay, before I dive into day two of the NFL draft, I just want to say I'll have in the description box to link to my video for day one and who I thought the winners and losers were on day one. And that being said, we'll dive right into day two, shall we? Okay, we'll start with winners for day two, starting with the Baltimore Ravens. They drafted arguably the best player in the draft that wasn't drafted in the first round, in linebacker Courtney Upshaw from Alabama. They got him at number 35. That was the pick they got from the Vikings, and with them trading up and back into the first round, he'll be good in the 3-4 defense because he can blow up plays on the running game. And in the last 2 years in college, he forced 6 fumbles, and that's always a good thing when you force fumbles. And also with their second pick in the second round, they drafted Kelechi Osemele from Iowa State, who played left tackle at Iowa State because, well, frankly, he was the best offensive lineman they had. But he won't be playing tackle in the pros. They will more than likely be moving him inside the guard, where I think he is better suited. And they can eventually plug him into the place where Ben Grubbs played, who's now down in New Orleans. And also in the third round, they drafted Bernard Pierce, the running back from Temple. He will be able to spell Ray Rice on times when he needs a breather, and just go like that. Another winner I had on day two was the St. Louis Rams. They had 3 second-round picks, and you would expect them to make hay with those picks, and they certainly did. First pick of the second round, they got Brian Quick, the wide receiver from Appalachian State, who will be able to give Sam Bradford a big target in the red zone. He will be able to stretch the field also. And then they also drafted Janoris Jenkins because of the cornerback from North Alabama, who he fell into the second round because of character concerns. This is a top 10 to 15 talent, and if he keeps his nose clean, this could be a real steal of the draft. Then also they drafted Isaiah Pead, the running back out of Cincinnati, who will, at least at first, be able to back up Steven Jackson when he needs a breather, and I think he can be a good complement to him. And then the third round of the draft, they got Trumaine Johnson, the cornerback from Montana. He slipped because of character concerns also, but as long as Jenkins and Johnson keep their noses clean, and if they can stay out of trouble, those can be a couple of good picks down the road. Another winner I had on day two of the draft was the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the second round, they got offensive tackle Mike Adams from The Ohio State University, and it was a good value pick because he had a first round grade on him, but he slipped because he had a positive drug test at the combine. But when you couple him with first round pick David DeCastro out of Stanford and Marquise Ponce at center, it's kind of the beginnings of one of the best young offensive lines in football. And also in the third round, they got linebacker Sean Spence from the U, and he may not start right away, but you have to think in 2013 he's basically a starter in waiting, and he will probably start next year. Okay. Now, since I've talked about the winners of day two of the draft, I'm going to talk about some of the losers. Number one, I would have to say, would be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, I know they drafted Andre Branch, the defensive end out of Clemson, in the second round, which was a nice pick and all. But you took a punter in the third round of the draft. Seriously? This hasn't happened since 2004 when the Packers took B.J. Sander from The Ohio State University in the third round of the draft that year. How'd that work out for you? Did he even make your team? Or maybe he made your team, but you ended up cutting him like the next year or something. But the guy's name in question is Brian Anger from Cal, and if I were a Jaguars fan, I would have been. That's about what I'd be feeling about that pick. Would be anger. It's like you couldn't have found somebody else to take in that round, like maybe another wide receiver or something like that. Anything but a punter. Seriously, like what the fuck were you thinking? Okay, another loser I had was the San Francisco 49ers. It's like first you take AJ Jenkins in the first round in the draft from the wide receiver from Illinois, but you took like Michael James in the second round. I mean, I don't doubt the Michael James can be a decent back. I mean, he could be like a third down back or something like that. But why take the Michael James when you've already got Frank Gore, you have Kendall Hunter, and you just picked up Brandon Jacobs in free agency? Don't understand this pick. I'm sorry, I just don't. And finally, one of my losers on day one is also one of my losers on day two. And that's the Chicago Bears. Boy, Phil Emery and them just don't get it, do they? It's like, holy cow. He took Alshon Jeffrey at pick number 45 when there were other wide receivers out there that you could have taken. It's like, if he gains any more weight, he might as well become a tight end, because number one, he couldn't get off the line in college. So what makes you think he's going to get off the line in the pros? And then you take Brandon Harden, the safety from Oregon State, who didn't even play last year because he tore up his shoulder and he missed the entire year. It's like how many times have you taken safeties over the years that didn't pan out? It's like, my God. And don't even get me started on the offensive line. Jesus Christ. I just don't get it. I don't get their draft strategy at all. Okay, next time I will talk about some of the best picks of day 3 of the draft, and I will also go over who I thought had the best overall drafts and who I thought had the worst overall drafts. And for that, I will leave it at that, and so long for now.